Today we're speaking to somebody who needs no introduction, especially in the field of financial education and wellness. Nicolette Mashile. All right, let's look at Nicolette. You are the founder of Financial Fitness Bunny.
Yes.
Right? And that design is borrowed from somewhere.
Not mine. Mine is cute. The Playboy one is seductive. Mine is like access.
Okay. You have a national diploma in sports management. You have a national certificate in debt counseling. Okay, but that's counseling, not counseling. All right? You are busy with your MBA, but you've done a lot of other courses. I mean, there's something about communications?
Yes, I actually have an honors degree in integrated comms.
Goodness.
Yeah. But let me tell you why, though. Growing up, my father really emphasized the importance of education. In fact, in my father's world, education guarantees you a better life, right? He doesn't factor in all the other things. It's black or white. It's either you go to school or you don't go to school. And if you don't go to school, in his world, you're not going to be successful, right? I agree to disagree to some extent with him. Perfectly fine. Then I went to Rhodes. Failed my first degree.
Why did you fail?
I was doing a B-boys, B-alcohol, B-life. I think I went to university at a time when I was not ready to go, but that was the trajectory of an African child, is that you finish matric and you go to university, right? And then when I failed my first degree, I remember my father saying to me, your friends are going to outclass you. Okay. And I was like, there's no way. And I think that's when I started now doing all these other qualifications, because I had a complex. I was trying to prove to him, I'm not stupid. It was just a difficult time for me when I went to university, and that's why I struggled with that degree. So I think a lot of my schooling has been interest in the field, but also at the same time it was a complex to try and prove.
So you were dealing with trauma?
Lots of trauma.
You want to talk about it?
I would talk about it, but you know why? Because it bleeds into my finances. And I always tell people, you need to do therapy. Because if you don't do therapy, you don't know who you are. So actually, if you look at the trauma of the schooling, it's what my dad said. He said to me, your friends are going to outclass you. So in my head,
you want to prove a point.
And I see that trend even sometimes with my finances.
No, that's true. And I guess that's why a lot of people invest in shoes. I mean, they've got shoes that can stretch the whole 2 kilometers.
Yeah,
you grew up with some barefoot and you're trying to prove a point.
Yes.
Others, maybe it's the poverty. You know, this thing of growing up in a family where you're told this portion of meat is only meant for uncles.
Certain people, yes.
Now that you are waking,
because I worked hard for it. But it's so funny though, John, because it can also work the other way. Like I find that sometimes you grow up in the same household, same circumstances, right? Now I'm going to be like my sister has got the let's just spend, you know what I mean, attitude. If we need it, let's just buy it. I, on the other hand, 6 months down the line. Like even in my business, I try to have 6 months worth of salary put away because I don't like uncertainty. So you also then find that sometimes that same trauma that makes one person,
helps you,
or it makes you stingy.
But what inspired you to get involved in financial education?
Mistakes. I made so many. I can't believe how my decisions then are affecting my life now. You know what I mean? A simple thing like buying a laptop on credit while I was in university. Laptop gets stolen. I can't pay for I can't pay for a laptop I can't see, John. So I stopped paying. Right? It was actually such a like first month they debited my account. I was like, I can't be paying for a laptop I don't have anymore. Second month I withdrew all the money. And then what happens? Bounce debit order. So they charged me. Upset again. Third month I was like, throw away the whole account. Let's just open a new account. So I got away with it for years. I mean, this is what, 2007 all the way to when I first financed the car in 2015. Then they reminded me, that date when you took a laptop. But I remember I didn't know.
They didn't know it.
I didn't know
it prescribed.
No. So when they bring it up, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Talk about that, Tori. What is prescription?
Yeah. So prescription is obviously it's a legislation. We've got what is called the Prescription Act, right? And basically it says that there's a stipulated amount of time where a debt can be legal and enforceable, right?
Yes.
And I think on one side it's to protect the consumer, to say, look, you've got an obligation to pay and you've got a certain amount of time to pay. But if you don't pay in that amount of time and the creditor does not come to you and say, John, warikolota.
Yes.
And if you're not going to pay, we're going to take the allowed legal steps for us to recover that money. If they don't do it in 3 years, let's say for retail debt, it means that you then have the right to have that debt become prescribed.
Yes.
Why? Because imagine the interest that builds up
Yes.
on that debt.
Yes.
If they wake up one day after 5 years and say, oh,
Yes.
the amount of interest
Yes.
that loan or that debt would have accumulated is just unfair for you to be expected to pay it.
That's
So
right.
that's why there's certain prescription periods for certain debt. Now,
Yes.
of course, people will then say to me, so I don't have to pay NASFAS. No, you must pay. Or I don't have to pay a
it's still
government
debt.
debt. No, you must pay, because those are still debts and they have their own prescription time. And in actual fact, for some of those, the prescription is so long that it's just not worth it, you know? But then people then will say, so I don't have to pay for my debts. No, guys. What happens in that 3 years, one, is too long for you to leave a debt and not pay it back, right? So what it will do to your credit status is it's just not worth it. But the second thing also, it's not guaranteed that the creditor is not going to do anything.
Yeah.
So you don't want to leave a default on a date and say you're hoping this thing is going to prescribe. It's best to just follow up on your credit obligations as you have committed when they did advance you that credit.
And also I think when people hear this, they think it's automatic.
Yes.
No.
Yes, because you can get caught out.
Yeah, because if the credit provider is making follow-ups, they're calling you, you are ignoring, they're sending you emails, whichever way that they're contacting you. It cannot prescribe, you know. So, but the point at which they stop communicating and there's no summons, there's no legal action, then you can talk about prescription.
The problem, John, is that they've now sold your debt and they're trying to recover some monies from that debt. And that's why people need to be vigilant about understanding their debt. And that means you need to check your credit report so that you know what debt you have. Because also you may take a retail debt, they stop communicating with you. You can actually remember when you took out the debt. It might be prescribed, you don't even realize it is. So that's why checking up on your credit report is also important, and making sure you've got access to it. It's actually still, for me, very wild how many credit active users we have in this country who've never seen a credit report.
That's true.
And the thing is, if you know what's on your credit report, if you know which debts have prescribed, if you know how much you owe, if you know what you owe, it just gives you that negotiating power. You know, if a dealership comes back to you and says, look, the bank is saying 11%, but you know you've got a good credit score, you know you've got good affordability, why you must be like, go back. Go back. But you can't do that if you don't know.
You know, there's something, Nicolette, you know, people look at you and people who are doing financial education, commentary and educating people about money, they think, these are angels. They don't have financial challenges.
Oh, sweetie. I wish. You see, this is what I always tell people. Financial literacy and financial education are two different things. Because you can be financially literate, but are you financially educated? Because those are two different things, right? You learn the concepts. So you know, and I'll give you a very practical example that just happened to me over December. You know risk mitigation. You know what there's a potential loss. If you bump your car, there's a potential loss. If you die, it's a potential loss. If you get injured, it's a potential loss. But where's the educational part that says do something about it? Because the educational part is the actionable part. You've got to now go get car insurance. You got to go get medical aid. So that's the difference that I think a lot of us get lost in. And then there's also the secondary part, which is it doesn't matter how much information you have, emotions. That's why we talk about therapy. Because sometimes you know better, but you don't do better because there are certain things that come into play, whether it's your emotions, whether it's advertising, whether it's whatever other influences. But let me tell you a story. 22nd of December, I go on a date. I literally fell for him, John. Sure. Ended up in hospital. get onto into the hospital, private hospital. First thing they ask me is, are you a private patient or are you medical aid? I'm a private patient. I said, oh, no problem. If you're a private patient, then you're going to pay private rates. I said, oh, okay, cool. That's not a problem. The lady comes back to me. A piece of paper, not even a full quote. A piece of paper.
Yeah.
She wrote these numbers. I want you to hear them and tell them out loud.
Yeah.
150.
150,000.
000.
Goodness.
That is just for admission.
Yes.
The doctor has not seen you. The
I'm so
orthopedic,
touched.
he hasn't even come. The orthopedic surgeon doesn't even know what my x-rays look like. 150,000 rand is for you to just be admitted and given a bed.
Yes.
300 rand per minute in theater. But the problem is they wanted on the spot.
On the spot, yes.
Yes. 9 o'clock that evening, I paid that money. I slept. 12 hours later, 9 o'clock the next day. But oh, we're going into operation at 10 o'clock. But the doctor won't touch you if his fee's not paid. 80,000 rand for an orthopedic surgeon. And it's an estimation. He says to me, it could go higher depending on how many hours we spend in theater.
150,000 already banked?
Yes.
Now 80,000 loading.
80,000, yes.
Okay.
Then another 20-something thousand for the anesthesiologist.
Okay, that's 250,000.
Yes. Mind you, every time you do an x-ray, which these are the x-rays that the doctor just comes up with, she needs to do a CT scan, she needs to do this x-ray. They are holding the card machine.
Yes.
You gotta pay on the spot. If there's a complication, you've gotta stay in hospital longer, which means you're still paying out of your own pocket. If there's a complication in theater, it means you're in theater longer.
Yes.
Now start calculating that 300 rand per minute.
What was your
my
reason?
biggest problem with medical aid was every single time I tried to get a quotation, they would put me on a waiting period.
Okay.
And in my head, my mathematics was like, so Gitloba on a 12-month waiting period, but I'm paying throughout the year. It doesn't make sense. Let me be clever.
12 months waiting period, that's your pregnancy.
I've never been pregnant, John.
No, I know, but I'm saying...
No. Mine, because of all the other things I've had in the past.
I see.
And the thing is, that's my problem, because me, I'm honest. So when I get asked, have you had tonsillitis in the last 12 months? I'm like, yes, because I
exclusion.
But exclusion.
And then next?
Have you had a kidney infection in the last?
Yes,
exclusion.
Yeah.
So, and it was for all the common things that I commonly get every single year.
Yes.
So I was like, no, guys, it's not going to work for me. But I realized that, you know what? Yes, it might have been a convenient excuse then, but it doesn't really work. And what scared me the most was the fact that I had no control over what happens in theater, what my post-op was going to look like. And if I had complications, I even said to the doctor, I said, basically you're saying to me, I can go into this operation and wake up and owe you guys $500,000.
Sure.
Because I don't actually know.
True.
Like literally, these things require money. And I was like, there's no way I can save enough money to be able to combat that. You know what I mean? So medical aid then becomes your next available. But I realized also through the medical aid thing that we don't spend enough time looking at our own needs and what is out there. Because for the first time, I got to understand there's medical aid, there's gap cover, there's hospital insurance, there's hospital cover, and they're all different, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And especially gap cover, it's not a common type of a solution. Maybe you want to talk about that.
So basically, gap cover is almost like a shortfall cover, same way with your car, right? So the gap cover will cover you for any shortfall that you have if medical aid doesn't pay 100% or medical aid doesn't pay the rates that the doctors are charging.
That's right.
So let's say the doctor charges you 80,000 rand for this surgery that I had, but medical aid says we'll pay 60. So that 20,000 rand is is the shortfall that you have.
That's right.
So you then have this insurance product called a gap cover that will come into, it's a short-term insurance cover, so it will come and pay for that shortfall that you've got. People don't realize how often that happens. Sometimes you go to a hospital where your medical aid is not contracted to the doctors that are there. So they charge 150 outside of the medical aid rate. Or anesthesiologists, mainly most of the time, are the biggest culprits because they charge 500, 400% out of medical aid rates. So you do end up with that shortfall that you need to pay, and you think, oh, medical aid paid for everything, and then 2 months later you get hit by an invoice, and they're like, oh, no, you still owe this much because your medical aid only paid a certain amount of money, and that's where your gap cover then kicks in.
And they don't play, they send you to lawyers.
Oh, no, they probably are the fastest people. Between them and real estate agents, they are the quickest to get you listed.
To lawyers.
First demand letter, second demand letter, third one. They don't have time, they don't play.
So I think it just highlights the things that we take for granted, you know, your medical aid and car insurance. Because the last time I heard, it was about 70% of the cars on our roads are not insured. And so you imagine, you know, how many of those people are actually paying a car installment because the financer financed the car. Because in most cases, yes, they take insurance first month, they cancel it.
Yes.
But there's a problem. We have a crisis. Why do you think we're having such a problem where people don't see a need for these things?
Look, I genuinely don't think people don't see a need, John, but I think what we have in South Africa is a general money management crisis, which actually, if you look at the foundation, it's budgeting, right? If you earn 15,000 Rand and you have to fit your life into 15,000 Rand take home, it means that it tells you what car you can get. The problem is we want to do it the other way around. We want to buy the car and then fit it into a 15,000 Rand budget. So what if you have to do that, to make space, you start cutting the things that are important. Insurance. A lot of people start there by insurance. And that's where the big problem is. The problem is that we do it the reverse way. We want to fit our life into a certain budget instead of saying the budget must actually dictate to us what kind of life that you've got, right? And I think that's the thing. It's like, you know, sometimes men complain about, oh, we took a girl out on a date and she ordered everything on the menu. Yes, because you took the girl and tried to fit her into your budget instead of the other way around. Budget, can I date this girl? I can't. So for me, that's the biggest thing. I think budgeting is a very important thing that many of us don't do in this country. And when we do it, we often don't prioritize very well. Because when we have to make cuts, I mean, in a budget, there's two ways that you're going to go, right? You're either earning enough money to have the disposable income to be able to channel to your lifestyle. Or you've got a budget that does not allow, which means that you either need to make more money or you need to reduce your spending on certain things. And the issue is that when we do make those changes, we often make the changes that are very important, which is part of your risk mitigation strategy, part of your savings, because that's what people do. They think, okay, I won't have an accident, so let me cut the car insurance out. This month, you know what, I actually can't save. Things are not looking good, I can't save. Instead of saying, okay, how do I make a little bit more money? Let's say your insurance is 1,000 Rand. All you've got to do is find something that can give you 1,000 Rand in the month. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's possible because we've seen it be possible. The problem is we also have a very skewed idea of what additional income streams look like in this country. In fact, we've done a very bad job of pushing these additional income streams because we make people believe that because I earn 15,000 at work, I must also make 15,000 Rand as my additional income stream. No, your additional income stream must be, you must ring fence a certain thing for it. So if it's insurance, all you've got to do is to try and make an additional 1,000 Rand. So you've got to think about it that way so that you don't cut out the things that are very important, because you cut it out now. It's temporary relief.
Let's talk about dating, because this is where a lot of people lose money. There's false marketing on either side, by the way, men and women. Number one, let's start maybe with the men.
Okay.
Like the point you made earlier. I know, I can't afford you. But I want to take you to an expensive restaurant in Sandton. And you're trying to create an impression that you can afford, that you are loaded. On the other hand, sisters now busy frontal. 5,000, want to impress when I got 20 Rand haircut. Now, this false impression, isn't this what's causing a lot of problems even in marriages? Because how you started, and now you're married, you're struggling to maintain this impression that you created up front.
It's a difficult one, John, because, you know, when people make decisions to date and who they want to date, it's fueled by a whole lot of different factors, right? Some of us, ego, some of us is to impress our friends. The type of person that you are dating, you think is supposed to have an impression, but it's never the impression that is probably the most important one. Does this person have the greatest characteristics that you need in a person? Because actually, if you look at dating these days, it's too quick. So that's why we don't even take enough time to actually invest properly and see if this person is worth it. There's a guy that I was seeing, and this man impressed me so much. Because we met in a very, very nice location where you would have gotten the impression we are both a certain type of person. But our first date was a walk. This man spent no money He came to my house, we parked, we went on this walk, and we got to know so much of each other. And on that walk, we realized this thing was never going to work. But now, had he wanted the quick win and the impressing, he could have taken me back to another restaurant that looked exactly like the one we spent huge amounts of money. Then now I would have spent on makeup. I would have spent on a new outfit. You know, I must carry a certain bag to give a certain impression. And we both would have lost. And that's why people get so upset. Or that's why they stick around with the wrong person, because I've already spent, I can spend this person. I do really think that we need to get away from this idea of get rich quick schemes, even in relationships. It does not work.
So you have developed quite a number of platforms. I mean, games, tools. You've written a book. Out of these things, which one do you think is more effective in terms of getting the message out there?
I was pleasantly pleased and surprised at how well the book did. Because we were given this narrative that Black people don't read. You know what I mean? And I was like, maybe people are not writing stories for us. Maybe that's the other issue, you know what I mean? So when I wrote the book and I put out stories about an ordinary Black girl navigating money and the mistakes that I made, the book did really well. So I'm quite impressed, because a lot of people come to me and they'll say, oh, I read your book. Oh, I love this chapter about relationships, or the chapter about black tax, or whatever. So I think it works for a certain group of people. YouTube was shocking to me also. Because when I got into YouTube, I was looking for entertainment content, you know, the lifestyle content is the content that we all think is gonna do really well. And then you're just surprised at this community that builds around learning. People are hungry for this kind of information. So I think there's different types of people. I get people who say to me, please do more podcasts. You know, we don't have time in the morning to watch, but we go on our way to work, we can listen to you, you know what I mean?
So, in your quest to spread financial education, financial literacy, I mean, what have been some of your biggest challenges?
Adult population. Mindsets are there already. They are set in stone. They've crystallized. You know, when I first started, I learned a very important lesson, and I guess that the lesson was that not everything is according to my perspective, right? So on its own, as a challenge to Nicolette, was that I made the assumption the way money was presented to me in my family and the way money played a role in my family, that was a blanket approach to every other person in the country. So if you look at my first couple of videos, you'll see I'm very absolute. This is how it's supposed to be done. This is the way it should be done. And then over the years, you learn, and I guess that's probably also one of the greatest powers that I've got, is that I've been in this for quite a long time. But I had to learn, money scripts, money beliefs are really built from a very young age. Relationships with money, you know, are built from a very young age. The people who are influential in your life really play a big role in shaping those. And you sometimes have to really go against the grain. So I think over the years, the biggest challenges has been mindsets, trying to get people to see financial education differently, but also that thing that I spoke about early, financial literacy. We teach you budgeting, we teach you to save, we teach you to invest, we teach you the concepts, but then we have to teach you the education. What does the law say about this? You know what I mean? What are the products that are going to help you with this? That's the educational component that I think is not coming out strong enough, because we almost swap it around. We try to teach people concepts all the time. Concept. Some people's mindsets are just stuck. Teach them to maneuver because they've got the right financial products, they've got the right policies, they've got the right principles. So I always say it's the three things. It's product, it's policy, and it's principle that we've got to teach people.
You also reach out to a lot of young people.
Oh, I love them.
And they have a particular way of, they have their own lingo, you know what I mean? How do you get the message across to young people? And because you are able to talk to the very little ones, but you're also able to pitch it to tertiary institutions. How do you get the message, especially to the tertiary students?
Give them what they want. The kids in university are excited. Gen Zs are excited, they're excitable, they go against unfairness. So they really just want to feel like they are contributing to their own personal finance success. And how do you do that? You've got to look at the quick wins for them. The quick wins is not get rich quick schemes, but it's showing them practically this is what your life is today. You have the control to make it this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where the disconnect sometimes happens with the more older population, right? Because they're living in realities.
Yeah.
It's difficult to tell someone who's in debt right now, but it's easy to tell someone, you're not in debt yet, but we can help you manage that you don't find yourself in a situation where you are 10 years down the line are in full debt, right? Or in debt that you may not be able to manage. It's also that thing, the possibilities for young people now are so amazing, they're so great. You can literally be an influencer in this country, a content creator, and you can win at life. Whereas we were also taught that thing, go to school, get a job. It was very and timeline based, you know what I mean? For them, they know it's not timeline right now. I am in control. And I think that's the biggest thing you want to teach people, right? Especially at that young age, is that you can be given the tools to be able to create the control that you need for your finances and the contingency plans. So one of the biggest things that I always say to young people is financial literacy is not a nice to have. And I need brands to also understand that, especially brands that work in the finance sector. It's not a nice to have. You're not doing people a favor. You're giving them tools to even make your life a little bit more easy. It's easier to sell life insurance to someone who understands why they need life insurance. But to just simply say, South Africans are taking up funeral cover, they're not taking up life insurance, and we don't understand why. No, you don't understand why because you didn't put in the investment to teach people to understand why life insurance is important. So with young people, we have that opportunity to tell them why budgeting works, to show them why it works. It's another thing we need to do, decenter the idea of wealth in this country. We've got a very skewed idea of what wealth looks like. Wealth is doing the mundane things because it is inevitable if you budget, if you've got the risk contingencies, if you save and invest, if you speak to a financial planner and create the route to be able to get you to the goals that you are trying to achieve. If you do all of those things, it's inevitable that you are managing your finances well and you're on your way to building wealth.
Can you just try and unpack these two concepts? You know, life cover and funeral cover.
So funeral cover is for the day.
Yes.
It's an insurance policy to cover you for the potential financial loss of a death. It's going to be a financial implication for the family to bury the deceased, right? That's the actual loss that comes in. Life cover is an insurance policy that covers you for the potential financial loss when this person and their potential and their ability to generate an income is now taken away from the family. So you've got to look at it both ways. So John, touch wood, passes on, and now John has left children and dependents. These kids still have a long life where they are dependent financially on John. Has John put in the right contingency, they're not going to suffer because John is no longer the breadwinner actively in this family. But John can breadwin from underground. Because he's put in this financial insurance policy that continues to pay for his children, right? And that's why it's important to educate our people, because let's be fair, John. In some communities, people are not even aware that there's a life insurance cover. They're not even aware that there's a policy that exists. Why? Because the funeral cover is a quick win. It's ingrained in us, especially as Africans, to not want that type of shame of we couldn't bury our own. We need to make it a little bit more accessible to people. But most important, as I say, now one of the things that I believe in with my whole heart and soul, John, is if you tell someone you have a gap, fix the gap and show them what the gap can potentially do. They have a willingness to fix it. Now that you've got the willingness, press play on making it easy for them to access this thing.
Yes. Last question. Your thoughts about how women can handle the money issue better?
You know, women do handle money issues better. We are better. You know what? Statistics have shown that women are better investors. Statistics have shown that women are better money managers. One of the things that they said is women don't earn enough money. And it's a fact. We've seen it, there's salary disparities. So most women are trying to make do with the little bit that they've got to try and do all of those things that need to be done. They're actually far better money managers. But in them being my better money managers, the other problem that comes and stems is a lot of women are anxious around money issues. And because of that, it causes other problems for them to be able to long-term invest. They want to fix things right now. So I think if we can help women identify in themselves what are their pitfalls? What's my blindfold as Nicolette when it comes to finances? Where are the parts of my money management where I'm struggling, and not necessarily because of the finance issue, but because of other things, scarcity issues. Poverty has also played a very big role. Gender inequality has played a very big role. So I think if we can do that one part, first of all, pay women more money. Let's just be very frank with it. Pay women more money. The second part is, let's also encourage women to have the confidence to control and be confident to manage their money. How do we do that? We've got to educate as many women as we can in terms of money management, right? Because confidence plays a very big role. It gives you capacity and the comfort to be able to manage your finances. I hear a lot of women say to me, whenever I have, like, if I'm doing a financial coaching session, I'm speaking to women at an event, one of the biggest things women say is, I'm scared. Because I said, why don't you invest? I'm scared. What are you scared of? You can only be scared of what you don't know, right? So fear is also another thing that a lot of women, they don't know where the money is going. I'm investing, but I don't know where it's actually going. So it does need a lot of education. I think if we can instill a whole lot more confidence in women to start businesses, women will rather be 150% qualified for a job before they apply for it. And men just apply. Men are 60% qualified. Do you know Excel? You know what I mean? So those are things that I think just generally from our past as women and having some liberties and rights taken away from us, we almost want to overly compensate for certain things. It's a good thing on one side, but on the other side, it does allow some opportunities to pass us.
Well, Nicolette, thank you so much. I'm sure if you were going to campaign for elections now, a lot of votes will come your way. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Much appreciated.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.